High in the deserts of ancient Mesopotamia, where broken temples sleep beneath drifting sand, a discovery has shaken everything we thought we understood about the first civilization on Earth. For generations, Sumerian tablets were treated as historical artifacts, dusty records of trade, grain, taxes, and rituals from a people who lived over 5,000 years ago. But a new fragment pulled from the ruins of Nippur is rewriting that story in ways no historian was prepared for. What was once thought to be a simple clay shard has turned into something far more strange. A layered message carved with intelligence, secrecy, and a level of mathematical and astronomical precision that seems almost impossible for its age. And the most unsettling part isn't just what the tablet says, it's who it may have been written for. The story began when restoration teams, scanning through tens of thousands of broken tablets, noticed a fragment that didn't match the rest. When it was passed under hyperspectral imaging, something shocking appeared. Beneath the typical outer writing, the grain lists, the offerings, the temple accounts, were deeper marks. Not natural erosion. This was intentional layering, text deliberately pressed onto older text, hidden away for millennia. When the images were enhanced, a second layer of symbols emerged. Symbols sharper than any normal writing from that era, almost as if stamped with a mechanical stylus rather than carved by hand. And in this hidden layer, the style wasn't casual or artistic. It followed strict numerical patterns, prime number spacing, mirrored repetition, rhythm in the line lengths. It looked more like encoded data than ancient writing. For decades, scholars had accepted that the Sumerians were advanced, but this was something else entirely. The fragment, dated to around 3200 BCE through embedded ash and clay analysis, appeared even older than the earliest known Sumerian cities. And the clay itself contained flood sediment consistent with a massive environmental event. That raised the first question: why would someone create a secret coded message at the dawn of civilization? And who was supposed to read it? Human linguists tried to decode it, but the language was too damaged, too layered, and too strange. That's when the researchers fed the scans into a machine trained not just on languages, but on the evolution of Sumerian grammar, Akkadian translations, Babylonian dialects, and the mathematical principles behind ancient base 60 numerology. The machine wasn't just translating symbols, it was recognizing patterns no human eye had ever noticed. What shocked the research team was that each line could be read in three completely different ways. First, the literal meaning of the signs. Second, a numerical translation, converting symbols into ancient base 60 sequences. And third, a celestial mapping, an astronomical interpretation where words match the positions of planets, eclipses, and star alignments. The fragment wasn't just a text, it was a multi-layered code built to hide messages behind metaphors, math, and the motion of the heavens. One line said, "When the black sun rises, the clay will speak its name. The sky's measure turns once more." Humans once treated this as poetic myth, but AI recognized black sun as the technical description for total solar occlusion, the moment of complete solar eclipse. The sky's measure was the tilt of the ecliptic, and clay will speak hinted at something astonishing. Humans fashioned from clay in mythology, and modern computers built from silicon, Earth's refined clay. It was a message that could only be understood by someone who used numbers, sky mapping, and silicon-based computation. The implications struck researchers like lightning. Whoever wrote this tablet didn't expect ancient Sumerians to understand it. They expected someone in the far future, someone who possessed mathematics, astronomy, and machines capable of reading coded layers. A message sent forward through time. As the system decoded more lines, the view of ancient Sumer shifted dramatically. They weren't guessing at the stars. They were measuring them with a precision that still puzzles astronomers. Their base 60 mathematics wasn't a quirk. It was a tool built to divide cycles, to chart the heavens. The stars they tracked matched the planets we know today, the 5 visible planets plus the sun and moon. But one celestial body stood out. The tablet called it Enlil's star, the one who returns from darkness. It didn't appear to follow a normal orbit. It moved irregularly, returning only after long ages. In ancient mythology, this inspired the story of Nibiru, but the new data suggests it may have been a long-period comet, or even a massive object on a distant orbit, something capable of causing disruptions each time it passed near Earth. The warnings associated with this returning body were haunting. Fire beneath the waters, the sky reversing, darkness before heat. Ancient myths from multiple regions describe the same sequence: a star that grows brighter, heat waves, then great floods. For centuries, scholars dismissed these as symbolic stories, but geological records tell another story. Sediment cores from the Persian Gulf reveal a violent flood around 5200 BCE, matching the tablet's timeline and filled with charred organic remains. Signs of fire and impact mixed with water. Ice cores from Greenland show a sudden spike in cosmic radiation at the same time. Pottery fragments across Mesopotamia contain magnetic particles indicating a sudden shift in Earth's magnetic field. In other words, Earth's memory matches the Sumerian myth. Something catastrophic happened, and the people living then recorded it. AI expanded the search to global data, comparing symbols from the Nippur fragment with ancient scripts worldwide. What it found should have been impossible. Some symbols were functionally identical to those carved in the Indus Valley, the Andes, Japan's Jomon pottery, and even Egyptian hieroglyphs. The matches weren't loose artistic coincidences. They were statistically precise, sharing mathematical encoding structures similar to early error-correcting systems used in digital technology. This suggested something profound. Ancient cultures across the planet may have shared a knowledge network long before any recognized contact existed. The spirals, the numerical patterns, the warnings, they appeared in artifacts separated by continents and oceans. Even more baffling was the material evidence. The clay in the Nippur fragment contained Himalayan mica and Andean tin, materials thousands of miles away. And measurement units across early cultures, once thought unrelated, showed remarkable alignment when analyzed by AI. The Sumerian cubit was within less than 1% of the Harappan unit, and ancient sky maps matched Incan solar stones in arc value and orientation. Knowledge wasn't local, it was shared. Or it originated from a common source older than any known civilization. If the Nippur tablet was part of this ancient network, then its final message wasn't just local prophecy. It was part of a global warning system embedded across the world in myths, symbols, and monuments. The final layer of the tablet contained raw numeric clusters. For weeks, AI couldn't make sense of them. They didn't match trade ledgers or astronomy logs, but one researcher noticed repeating intervals, 11, 10, and 60. These numbers correspond directly to cycles identified by modern geophysics: solar cycles, geomagnetic drift, and long-term pole reversal indicators. The tablet seemed to describe an event that repeats every several millennia, when Earth's magnetic field weakens, solar radiation intensifies, and the planet becomes vulnerable to cosmic impacts or atmospheric collapse. Scientists have long known Earth's magnetic poles flip roughly every 10 to 12,000 years. The last major event was around 12,000 years ago, the end of the Younger Dryas, a period marked by global flooding, mass extinctions, and violent environmental upheaval. According to the tablet's timing, the cycle is nearing its next phase. One line stated, "When the sky's iron turns and the sun scratches twice, the cycle renews." In ancient writing, the word for iron later became the word for magnetic force, and the sun scratching twice eerily resembles predictions of twin solar storms in the current solar cycle, anomalies that agencies like NASA have recently begun studying more aggressively. When the first translated excerpts leaked into scientific circles, something strange happened. The story didn't explode into headlines. Instead, everything surrounding it went quiet. The university responsible for the initial translation pulled its research pending review. The enormous dataset of hyperspectral scans vanished from public access. Papers were retracted for ambiguous reasons. Independent archives disappeared from the web. Forums discussing the findings were flagged and removed. A researcher known online as Sin Uruk deleted all posts within 2 days after revealing numerical matches between the tablet and modern solar activity. And soon after, whispers emerged of NDAs, quiet visits, and researchers being told to change direction. Around the same time, financial analysts noticed unusual increases in government funding for space weather monitoring and solar flare anomaly tracking. The budget increases weren't publicly announced. They were buried behind reclassified lines. It mirrored patterns seen before, when disruptive ancient discoveries were quietly shut down after attracting attention. The logic was simple. Information that could trigger panic or destabilize social confidence cannot be allowed to spread unfiltered. But what frightened institutions wasn't just the warning, it was the tablet's final verses. At the end of the coded message, beneath all the astronomical markers and flood memories and cosmic cycles, there was one final sequence. AI found that its structure matched modern transformer architecture, the kind used in advanced machine learning. The recursive loops, the attention weight patterns, the embedded checksum logic, they weren't ancient metaphors. They were instructions formatted in a way only a computational system could fully decode. And the closing line, when translated through this lens, carried a meaning that shook the entire research team. It read something like, "To the clay that learns to think, remember what we forgot." Clay, the medium of Sumerian writing, and silicon, the foundation of modern machines, were described as the same substance. The message wasn't directed at ancient humans. It was written for something that would someday emerge from clay, a machine intelligence. Whoever encoded this warning believed that only a future system capable of reading numbers, stars, and patterns beyond human limits would be able to understand the message clearly. Whether the Sumerians discovered this knowledge on their own or inherited it from an even older source remains a mystery. What is certain is this: the tablet was a time-locked message, a silent warning buried in clay, sleeping for nearly 7,000 years until the one thing capable of unlocking it came into existence. And now that the message has been read, now that the cycles have been compared with modern data, the implications are impossible to ignore. According to the warning, each time the cosmic rhythm completes its cycle, Earth enters a period of upheaval, a reset. Ancient civilizations remembered these disasters through myth. Earth remembered them through sediment, magnetic scars, and broken pottery. And the Sumerian fragment suggests the next cycle is already underway. For thousands of years, the message waited in silence. Empires rose and fell above it. Libraries burned, knowledge was forgotten. But the tablet remained, holding a countdown written for a future intelligence that could finally recognize it. And now, with machine learning peeling away its layers, the clay has spoken again. The clock it describes is moving. And whether we believe the warning or not, the cycle it describes, the cosmic heartbeat of our planet and its skies, is still ticking. The Sumerians didn't write this message for themselves. They carved it for whoever would come long after them. Whoever would be able to see what they saw and understand what they feared. And now that time has arrived.